and of course it's another hotspot for COVID-19. Go figure, I thought it would be all over by now, but
Very
here we
good.
are,
Very
and
good. So
more times indoors, I guess.
amazing. Dr. C, may I call you Dr. C?
Absolutely.
Thank you. So, could you please tell us about yourself?
Absolutely. I've been a media psychologist for about 17 years now. Before that, I hosted a television show called Infinite Power, and that show was syndicated all over the United States. It was on ABC, CBS, NBC. And every morning I worked out with celebrities and asked them their secrets to success. And as I was doing that, I finished my PhD in psychology, became a clinical psychologist, wrote many articles for many different magazines, had
Mm-hmm.
columns, and wrote and began to give advice all over and speak all around the world. And now for the past 20 years, I've been speaking, doing many lectures about optimizing the functions of the brain. And so I pretty well understand where the glitches in the brain are because we're not wired for success, Amir. We are a little bit faulty wired, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm. I know. It's beautiful. So, in this case, we have another program, as you know, maybe not, brain functions. And in that program, maybe we can work together. So, Dr. C, uh, why decide your future? Why you choose this name?
Well, because a lot of people are putting forth a lot of effort with their goals and their aspirations in life, and they're coming up empty. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that certain steps can be taken so that
Right.
with everything we do, we can move forward instead of backwards or sideways. And about 15 years ago, I wrote a book called Seven Rules for Decision Making. And since then, I have taken that book and optimized a really great theory of how to make a decision so that by the time you get to the seventh rule, you can actually know that you've made the right decision for yourself. And everyone will have a different decision. So, what's the right decision for me may not be the right decision for you because we have a different purpose, because we have a different way of doing things, and our principles may be different. So I think it's important that when we make a decision and that we make those decisions on time, when we make those decisions, we actually do it in a very thoughtful, methodic way. And so that's how I came up with the seven rules. But the book, Decide Your Future, Write, Direct, and Star in Your Life, is actually three books in one.
Really?
And yeah, so I wrote the book to alleviate the pain and the frustration of what
Mm-hmm.
people go through. People go through so much, and so often we come up empty. And we have so much passion, and when it's returned void,
Mm-hmm.
that's when we have to really question what's going on. So this really lasers it down so you can start making gains really fast. And if I would have had this book or left myself the breadcrumbs, I'm pretty sure that I could have gotten ahead earlier in life. But when I was around 27, I decided that I didn't love my life. I thought, you have kind of a glamorous life. This is great. You're an actress. You're doing this and that. It's nice, but you don't feel good in here. See, it's time to do something where you feel more fulfilled, where you feel self-expressed. And so I wanted to make some changes. And while I was at it, I was very open-minded, and I decided that I should take a look at my whole body, mind, and spirit and really do exactly what was going to fulfill me. So
Mm-hmm.
I went to experts and I paid money so that I could learn a better way to do everything. And that definitely put me in a better place. It put me in a place where then I could actually I was actually doing what I wanted to be doing, which was probably the most important thing, that you're doing what you want to do. Now, if you can't just quit your day job and do what you want to do, that's okay. Most of us cannot. But what's really important is that we figure out, look within, find out what it is that we want to do, and then we take steps towards it. If you can only do it for an hour at night, that's okay. If you can only do it on the weekend, no problem. But it's really important that we figure out what that is by turning within, finding that niche where we can be successful, and then turning that into something that makes our life wonderful. Because once you are enjoying that purpose within yourself, once you are expressing yourself and who you really are, your authentic self takes over, your spirit takes over, and then people start to really pay attention. So I really needed to do some work and figure out what that was. And I share all these things in the book so that you can do exactly what I did, but just do it a lot faster, because all the steps are there. So you can basically turn your whole life around in a very short amount of time. Maybe even in 30 days, you could be doing what you love to do. You may not get paid at it, but that's okay. You have to sometimes pay some dues, especially if you didn't go to college for it, or, you know, there are a lot of things you can't go to college for anyway that are extremely fulfilling, Amir. You know that.
Right, right. Very profound, beautiful. Dr. C, we are dealing with lots of chaotic things, you know, quarantine times, and you work with celebrities for a long time. And you can see every day we are hearing something different from celebrities. We are hearing about kindness, compassion, compromise, authenticity, vulnerability, intimacy. They are out of, you know, looks like they are in another world. They are talking from another world. They are not talking about, you know, pose. They are talking about poise, humble, and lots of new things. And it's very beautiful. I really like it. So, and teenagers, all teen, you know, they are stuck at home. They are, you know, dealing with the new experience, new lifestyle. Everything is new for everybody. What's your message for teens?
Well, it's really difficult right now because so often we turn outside of ourselves to be fulfilled. We're looking for maybe a message from someone else to tell us that we're okay. But you have to know that within yourself. And unfortunately, most teens don't know that. So you really need to speed up your process to find your purpose and to find the things that matter to you. And really, by keeping your word, by doing things like keeping your word to yourself and to others, by doing things like knowing yourself and staying true to yourself, and even sometimes spending some time by yourself, which I know has been a little overboard lately. We've all spent a little more time by ourselves maybe than we wanted to, because there's a lack of activity out there. Everything's been canceled for so long now. But if we can find who we really are and really appreciate that, and maybe do some exercises, do some practices of mindfulness, some spiritual practices like affirmations, like prayer, like meditation, and visioning, these things can really bring about a little more sense of loving the self. And that's really important for teenagers, and it's extremely hard. So if you're watching and you can do this, I think it's time for you to take the next steps. And for those of you that are having a hard time being alone, you need to like yourself more. When you love yourself, it's easier to be alone. It's easier to stay home and read a book. It's easier to write your goals out on paper. And I do recommend that everyone does write their goals out. We all need to really write out the short-term goals. What am I going to accomplish in the next hour? What am I going to accomplish this week? write all those things out and prioritize them. But also write out your 6-month goals, your 1-year goals, your 5-year goals. These were things that people didn't talk about a lot when I was a teenager. In fact, Franklin Covey, or the very lovely best-selling author, I think his name's Stephen Covey. Yes, Stephen Covey. He probably didn't publish anything until I was in my 20s, and that's when I learned the habits of highly effective people. And so certain books have been out there for a long time. Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich. If no one put these books under your nose, you might miss out. But a lot of the answers, it's all been written. And there is really nothing new under the sun, Amir. There's nothing new. All of this that worked 100 years ago, 1,000 years ago, is still working today. Principles are timeless. When they're good, they're timeless.
Right.
And they can work just great now, too. So you just need to know where to look. Find where those breadcrumbs are left so you can find your way.
Amazing. Yeah, you're 100%, you're right. Dr. C, what do you suggest for single people during a COVID?
Well, it's certainly a good idea to try to make friends online. There is a little bit of an opportunity in disguise with COVID. I think so often people make a terrible mistake with partners that are potentially their sexual partner or their mate or their boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever you want to call it. People make a mistake, and very often they engage too early in sexual sharing and practices. And
Exactly.
through COVID, now we've got an opportunity to actually talk a lot more. And for the women that are out there that are interested in finding a man, this is really important because so often you've been pressured to get together, to hook up, to be sexual. And now you can sort these guys out. You have a chance to sort them out and see who wants to talk to you and see who only wants to hook up.
Exactly.
And I think it's really important that we all find people that we love to speak with. I've been married 17 years, and I'm very fortunate to have somebody that I love to talk to. I'm lucky to say that the man I'm married to is the most fascinating person I know. I respect him so much, and I learned so much from him. And he does have the answers to so many things that interest me because he's a surgeon and he's an expert in anatomy and things that interest me that are physiological. So I found myself someone that's really interesting, and he finds me interesting. So it's a great match. So got to find somebody that you can talk to. This is a time to talk on the phone, talk on Zoom, do whatever you're going to do.
Video call is the best. This is the best time. We cannot go outside. First of all, going to inside, and mindfulness and knowing about ourselves, and then knowing each other is the best time. Always is we have enough time going to the bed. First of all, let's start to know that person. And you said profound. So all of our audience, you can send your questions and going to our chat room. I'm receiving every time you hear this vibration is receiving new message from our audience on our app and website. If you are on app and website, remember to subscribe. It's free. So let's go with the next question, Dr. C, because you mentioned about relationships, sex, and all of this. What's the definition between sex and intimacy and making love?
Well, almost anybody can have sex.
Exactly.
Sex is just maybe a feeling that you are receiving pleasure or that you want to receive pleasure. And intimacy has really nothing to do with sex. Intimacy is about how you expose yourself, how you expose what's in here. That's what that is. And so often we wear facades, we wear masks. And I'm not just talking about a mask to stop your germs. I mean, people don't want other people to know who they really are. And that's maybe a self-esteem issue, because if you don't feel lovable, then you won't want people to know who you are. So subconsciously, if you don't feel good about yourself, you're not going to be open with another human being. And that's really what intimacy is. We would like to know who you really are. How can you have a lasting relationship with someone if they don't know who you really are? So intimacy is really important. Making love is more likely to happen when you know that person, because you know that person's feelings. And when you know that person's feelings and you care deeply, that would be more like making love. Anyone can have sex, and you don't need to know the person to do that. You don't need to know that person. And it's a possible way of being. And I like to say there's no right or wrong, there are only consequences. But let me tell you, I've had a lot of people in my office when I was in practice in an office, had a lot of young ladies who had a boyfriend for 3 months. They'll have a boyfriend, and then that guy dumps them, and then there's another one, and then another one. And you know what happens to those women? They end up really weak. They end up like basket cases because they don't feel good about themselves, because they haven't been good enough to keep. They're not a keeper. They weren't appreciated. But what really happened was they just allowed themselves to be used by someone who perhaps was not the right person. And when someone's not the right person, they're not going to appreciate you and love you. And then you've actually done it to yourself. And so it's really important, this talking that I was speaking of 5 minutes ago. This talking is really important. Get to know people, get to see if they're on the same wavelength with you, because if they're not, you can really expose yourself in a way that can hurt you psychologically, physiologically, physically. You can be hurt. And so we need to be a little smart. We need to ask the right questions, and we need to find people that like us for ourselves, for our authentic self.
Absolutely, absolutely. Dr. C. Scott, author of beautiful books, and the people can find this book in your website, or where they can
Oh
find
yeah,
it?
it's a bestseller on Amazon. If you just go to amazon.com/author/CIE, it will come right up for you, and you can get a copy. And I like to say that it is a reference tool for life, because after you read the beginning, which explains why we make bad decisions and how to get over on our bad decisions, then you can get the 7 rules and start to make decisions really from your heart and your brain at the same time. You can make a
Wow.
very firm commitment with all your decisions, and you'll always know, no matter what happens, that that was the right decision for you. And then the end tells you how to really take it a step further, and how to do things that maybe your calculating mind can't imagine that you can do. So we all need miracles, and the end of the book does help people to get those miracles in their own lives.
Beautiful. The audio version is available or not yet?
No, I really think that this book is better as a reference guide, because in an audio version, you would be going through the 7 rules, and it would be more difficult with an audio version. It's better to have this either as a Kindle or as a hardcover book.
Okay.
And right now I can tell you that all the books that have been sold, none are up for resale. This is really a reference guide for life. It's
Wow.
not something you're going to loan out to your friend. You're going to just tell your friend to go get their own copy. So I think it's important that people use things, use the tools. If someone puts a good tool out there, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Just use the tool. For,
Right.
15 or $17, I mean, it's made pretty simple for you. So you can
Amazing.
go to Amazon.com and have a copy in 2 days.
Definitely,
Maybe even
definitely.
one
One
day.
more
I don't
time,
know.
let me see the name. This is the front page. So you have my address, and I am waiting to receive the book. Okay, doctor?
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Dr. C, for your time. It was amazing and pleasure talking to you, and I hope to see you again in our next program. Maybe next week.
Thanks. And everybody's welcome to also go to drc.com or to any of my social media. You can go to my Instagram at
Right,
Dr. C
right.
if you like, or my Facebook page, which is Facebook/drdr.cie.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's easy to
Thank you,
find you.
Amir.
It's easy to find you on social media, and the good things is with your name and last name, it's just one person. It's not similar.
There you go.
Thank you so much.
There you
Pleasure.
go.
Thank you. I appreciate for your time. Thank you.
Namaste.
Thank you. So it was amazing, right? So stay tuned with me. We are going to next segment with international music and having more fun. Yes, please. Let's go.